Hi, it's Jerry the King Lawler, and you're tuned in to the Don Tony and Kevin Castle Show. I don't know why you are, but you are.
Amazing, says some guy. These men have changed broadcasting forever. The Don Tony and Kevin Castle Show.
Did you hear Roman Reigns? Yaki da, huh? You get it, Kev?
Oh, yeah, I can't afford Skype. The baseball analogy.
Yeah, Kev, I just thinking, with Yaki da, I don't speak Japan, and you f***ing people.
Oh, yeah, you, DT.
What do you think about that, Kev?
Oh, well, Batista's pretty fucking sexy, and did I mention Roman Reigns gives me a boner? And, 1980s baseball and wrestling was better than anything else.
DonTony.com.
Again this week. I know what it is, everyone. I have one stupid setting in this system that whenever the transition takes place, it starts the music from the beginning, so I got to fix that. I forgot to fix it last week, so my apologies, everybody. It is Monday night, May 4th, 2020. Welcome to this edition of the Don Tony and Kevin Castle Show. I am Don Tony, as always. Then join along with me is...
Kev Castle, what's up, DT?
No, what's going on?
Discord? Not the much. Just wrapping up another fun-filled Raw.
Man, I tell you, last week we talked about how shitty Raw was, and we had a feeling that it was going to be the worst Raw rating in history, and sure enough, that happened. And, SmackDown is now under 2 million viewers. And it's funny because you have like musicians performing in their living rooms by themselves without their bands. Almost like, remember, what was that show on MTV back in the day where you would have I think the guy from Nirvana did it, like he was on the stage and he performed like... Unplugged. I mean, it's all like these musicians are doing Unplugged and they're getting awesome ratings. So you take away the fans. I mean, the fans cannot be this much kryptonite for the WWE that you take away the fans and you just take away like everybody is just mentally deranged in that company right now. It reminds me, the best way I could compare what's going on with WWE right now is when you go to a casino and you go to the casino, maybe you go there with like $5,000. And we'll say 2 years ago was $5,000 because WWE has lost 1.3 million viewers in 2 years. I don't know if anybody realizes that, but yeah, 1.2, 1.3 on Raw in 2 years. Women's revolution, everybody. I'm not putting all the blame on that. It's the writing. It's the way people are portrayed. But they were so focused on the women that they neglected everything else. And, you see a lot of the results now. And I think we should call the man now half the man because she's got not even half the schedule. But it reminds me of someone who walks into a casino with $5,000 and they start losing a little bit. No big deal. Start losing a little bit more. No big deal. Then you get to that point where you really start taking a bath, losing. And instead of trying to pick up and go to another machine or just try to recoup and, get yourself back in the swing of things, you stay at the same machine. And you're like, you know what? It's bound to hit. It's bound to hit. It's bound to hit. And meanwhile, you're sitting there and you're losing more and more and more. And there's no excuse for this. I mean, this tonight's Raw, it's not only awful, but it's predictably awful. Yeah. You know, the Viking Raiders beating the Street Profits was the only reason was to now have a rematch at the pay-per-view. You know what I mean? Like, you put in guys in this gauntlet match, and I said 2 weeks ago, you know, there's a lot of upcoming guys, you know, a lot of wrestlers, you know, different ethnic groups, different countries, you know, maybe it's a nice little way to showcase them, but you got to showcase them against other people that could help elevate them, you know? And I tell you, I'm left with Raw tonight, and I'm saying to myself, this is awful, man. This is just awful.
Yeah, the only one that they did what you just said they should do, they did it once tonight, and they did that with Liv Morgan giving Charlotte Flair somewhat of a match. So they tried to elevate Liv, but that was about it.
Yeah, and even with the Liv Morgan, you know, I've sung praise to Liv Morgan. I've actually said I think Liv Morgan actually wrestles better than Alexa Bliss. But even tonight, you realize why Charlotte is all the way up here and Liv Morgan is all the way down here. You know, back in the day, you put a superstar up with an up-and-comer. The up-and-comer, and you remember this. I mean, if you really want to go way back, you remember 83, Eddie Gilbert and Kurt Hennig.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, I was
just
going to say that.
If they face Jose Luis Rivera or Johnny Rods, they may get a win here and there. But you put them up against, you know, the fucking Masked Superstar or someone else like that, they might get 10 seconds of offense and the crowd gets a little excited, but then they usually fuck up and then they lose. You know, if you watch this match again tonight of Liv Morgan versus Charlotte, and again, I've sung the praise of Liv Morgan. She's better than Alexa Bliss in the ring, in my opinion. But just if you focus only on Liv Morgan, you will see that Charlotte, like, literally had to set up and then just sit there or stand there and wait for Liv Morgan to do some of the things she's doing. And the timing, Liv Morgan is fine, but not against someone like Charlotte. Of course, it's only one match, but I tell you, it's things like this are really, I mean, you know, there's the ratings say it all. The ratings say it all. And you know, it was funny. 2 weeks ago or a week ago, everybody was talking about, oh, the ratings are going against the NFL draft. The fuck was their excuse for SmackDown going under 2 million? Oh, yeah! Really? What's the excuse? No fucking draft. Nobody got shot. There was no hurricanes. There was no earthquakes. There was no mass murder. There was no presidential debate. There was no NFL, NHL, MLB, blah, 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 blah. You know, what are these people doing during these nights?
Anything but watching wrestling.
Yeah. I want to ask you a good question. Mm-hmm. Everybody that's tuning in, by the way, I want to give a shout out to everybody, whether it's, you know, audio, YouTube, but I set up Twitch today. Twitch should be streaming right now. Unfortunately, I'm not there to monitor it, and I'm not able to see the chat tonight. But if anybody does want to stop by the Twitch channel, it's twitch.tv/DonTonyD, just like my Twitter. Just let me know later on if the video streamed. I mean, I'm sure I'll know after the show, but let me know if it's streamed and let me know if everything was, you know, seamless, because, you know, I'm trying to open up other areas where people could tune in, you know, and Facebook will be next, and there's a few other ones. But, you know, I invite every single person tuning in, you know, answer this to yourselves. But I ask you, Kev, because I was thinking about this the other day. We have wrestling on Monday. We have wrestling on Tuesday.
Right.
Surprise, surprise for a lot of people. We do have wrestling on Tuesday. We have wrestling on Wednesday. We have wrestling on Friday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Which day of the week is your favorite night to watch wrestling? I'm not saying to just watch wrestling. What night do you feel the most satisfied watching wrestling?
Used to be Monday, now it's Wednesday.
It is Wednesday. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm curious how people react to that, because, you know, I know a lot of people are having fun with the AEW and the NXT ratings. You know, it's not impressive, but I don't think it's dismal either, because at the end of the day, when you add the two together, it's about 1.3 to 1.4, 1.5 million viewers watching wrestling on a Wednesday night. I personally think that if NXT or AEW moved to a different night, I have a feeling that they both would probably pull million viewers on their separate nights. But not everybody can stream from a TV and a computer or a TV and a phone. So I'd say probably about 90% of fans have to choose one or the other, or they channel surf. And sometimes they may stick to one show depending on what they see on TV. I made this prediction last week. I'm sticking to it. I think this Wednesday's rating combined will be the highest rating in a very long time on Wednesday nights. They are advertising great matches. Yes, empty arenas, but I honestly think this Wednesday is going to pull out an awesome rating.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Definitely. But Mondays used to be the day. I mean, notwithstanding our shows on for Monday, it's an institution for years and years and years. But Wednesday is definitely the night now. I'd be foolish to say anything different.
Yeah. Raw tonight, I tell you, here's another thing that I talked about a little bit last week. And you would think maybe you give them 1 week, especially with Paul Heyman at the helm. I'm not trying to cause controversy, but I wonder if Paul Heyman and Triple H are butting heads a little bit. And I'll use two reasons why. I'm just trying to stir the pot right now. I don't actually think this. I think everybody's trying to crunch, and, they're probably more united than ever before. I'll give you two names that really piss me off. Akira Tozawa and Shane Thorne. Last week on Wednesday, I talked about how WWE uses Shane Thorne last Monday on Raw. MVP is scouting him. Player, I see money in you guys. Vink and Thorne. I see money. Thorne, Wednesday comes, no MVP in sight, and Thorne gets squashed by Dexter Lumis.
Right.
So now I'm like, all right, Monday, MVP scouting him. Wednesday gets squashed by Dexter Lumis. And tonight, he beats a team that should not have lost anytime soon. Then I look at Akira Tozawa. Ramen Noodlehead, 2 weeks ago. He had that really competitive match. He's in the fucking Cruiserweight interim title tournament. They put him on Raw. He gets squashed like a grape. How do I put any credence in Tozawa in this title tournament after he gets squashed like a grape on Raw? It's almost like, like Triple H is like, all right, Paul, all right, you want to push Thorne? You want to put MVP with him? No problem. I'll have Dexter Lumis squash him like a fucking bug. Tozawa, we put him in the Cruiserweight tournament. Paul Heyman's like, that motherfucking Triple H. You see what he fucking did to Shane Thorne? I'm trying to align him with MVP, and he fucking has him squash Dexter Lumis. I'll show that motherfucker. Happy 25 years, my ass. When Tozawa comes to Raw, you see what I do to that fucking Cruiserweight tournament contendee. And he goes on Raw, he's squashed like a grape. So it's almost like, hey, Triple H, the social distancing is not fucking 3,000 feet. Get in the same room with Paul Heyman and saying, look, the fuck you do that to Lumis, to Thorne on Wednesday. I'm trying to align him with MVP. It's almost like if you want to meet a chick and you want to get laid and you tell your friend, hey, put in a good word for me. And then your friend tells her, like, no, he's a great guy, but he smells. It's like, come on, man.
I thought you were going to say that he bangs her and then you get her.
Yeah. Come on. I mean, if I see this and you see this and the Donzilla Army sees this, there's only so many times that they can say, oh, these are just outspoken. They got to bitch about everything. No, man. I mean, get in the fucking same room. All right, we got Tozawa in this Cruiserweight tournament. He don't have a fucking chance in hell, but we got to give that suspension and disbelief that he has a good chance. All right, so when he goes on Raw, we'll put him up against a really competitive guy, and this and that. No, instead, I'll show him. See what he did to Thorne? I'll do that to Tozawa. I see this, and I'm like, come on, man, what the fuck is this?
But you assume they're not on the same page. You're just saying you're thinking that could be the case.
They can't be that stupid. They can't be that stupid. It's like, you know, you might remember this. You might remember a long time ago when TNA was allowing some wrestlers to go work for other indie groups, and they had to pay a booking fee to TNA so those wrestlers could wrestle on other shows. But one thing also was they wanted to make sure that the wrestlers weren't being put in really tremendously different situations that went against TNA. For example, you don't want a wrestler who is a monster heel in TNA work for Tom's, Ribs and Wrestling, and they put him as a baby face. Or, if you have this guy feuding with this guy on TNA Impact, you don't want them to show up in the other promotion and they're tag teaming with each other. So I tell you, I don't fucking get it. I don't think that there's dissension, but there is no logic in taking guys that you're trying to develop and enhance, and then you turn the TV a couple of days later and the total opposite happens in the same fucking week.
Well, don't you think it might be because of lack of staff or lack of guys? That's why they're using theories so much. That's why now Thorne and Vink are there. They might as well get the most out of them that they can, double shots and shit like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's my Otis impersonation. That's the only thing I can do. But
that's what he does, too.
Yeah, that's what he does. They're showing like Otis from Smackdown, and at the same time, I'm looking at the paragraph. I'm looking at that they couldn't even get 2 million viewers, and I'm like, I'm looking at that. I'm like, oh yeah! Oh man, you know what? And I agree with Joe and everybody else. I hope Otis wins Money in the Bank. I really do. Who's your favorite for Money in the Bank on the men's side?
I'd probably am going to go with Otis, but can he get it? Will they give it to him?
We don't know. I hope so. I kind of think it would be an interesting change of pace to see someone like him get it. I mean, he got the girl, but the storyline, it just, even a storyline, I mean, it was cute in the beginning and it had a nice, direction change at WrestleMania. But does it, I mean, again, this is suspension of disbelief. It's entertainment.
Right.
Does it come across to you like Otis is getting any? You know what I mean? It's like,
hi, Mandy. I picked you these flowers, Mandy. Yeah, Mandy, email me if you want, Mandy. Yeah.
It's like, all right, he got the girl. When he gets the girl, you feel like, all right, what's the next step? I mean, what is this? It feels like what I said many moons ago. Old Rick Steiner.
Well, Robin Green. I think it's a non-sexual relationship, DT. I think it's just
if it's a non-sexual relationship, then he shouldn't care if Dolph Ziggler's tapping that.
They go to first base. That's it.
I don't even think they hold hands.
I think they kiss, and that's it.
Oh man! See,
I don't even want to go in that mindset.
See, I would have done skits with Otis and Mandy Rose that Otis doesn't even know his own strength. Like Otis goes to give her something, and he accidentally breaks it in a million pieces.
Like of Mice and Men with Lenny.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Seriously, like he gives her like a vase of flowers, and he goes to give it to her. He doesn't know his own strength, and he just shatters the vase in his hands. Or there's 1,000 things they can do, and they don't do it.
Well, they could do the Mark Henry thing with him in a way and make him like he's this stud behind the scenes, and he really satisfies Mandy, but do they want to go beyond that PG bullshit that they're comfortable with? You know what I mean? Like make those innuendos that Otis is satisfying to Mandy. They would do that years ago. I don't know if they do that today. They want to make them kid friendly. They don't want to go.
Yeah, that's what it is. SmackDown is more of the kid friendly show. It's on Fox. It's on at 8:00 at night, and it feels a lot more kid friendly. I mean, it's felt like that for a while. They don't have Roman Reigns right now, and it feels like, that Otis is, the guy that all the kids, crushing over right now. Oh, and it's so sweet. Because think about it. Children are not supposed to have sex. So children see the Mandy Otis storyline like a perfect relationship. It actually, I think I just figured it out. They're like two fucking kindergarten kids.
I said non-sexual. They just
Yeah, it's like two kindergarten kids. Anthony Diaz, no, I can't do the caterpillar when I do 20,000 subscribers. I don't have the video to do that, but maybe I'll do it with the cell phone. Maybe I'll film it from like a different room and stream it online. I don't mind trying.
Could you actually do that?
I don't. You want to know something? This is a God honest truth. Back in the day, me and my friends tried to do the worm when Scotty Too Hotty used to do it, and I was not good at it all. Now, maybe because I am a little bit lighter, I might be able to do it now, but, maybe I'll try. But, I'll do it by myself. This way, if I'm embarrassed and it's this terrible, I'll just delete the video and say, nah, I wasn't able to do it. So Roger Rubio says they make love. They don't have sex. So there is a big difference, believe it or not.
I've heard.
I've heard. Yeah, but even a Dolph Ziggler twist to this is a little weird because Dolph Ziggler seems like he's really showing emotion, like he truly cares about Mandy, which makes it even weirder. It's, I don't know, there's something about this storyline. And you know what? I know that woman that was responsible in writing a lot of it was let go.
Right.
Maybe they can't like figure out and I'm not trying to be sexist, but there's a reason why most women love like Dirty Dancing and what's that one with fucking, Julia Roberts, Pretty Woman. There's a reason why those women usually gush over those films. And guys are like, oh, come on. Like you're just changing the channel and then you happen to see that Pretty Woman or Dirty Dancing is on.
Chick flick.
Yeah, it's a chick flick. So this storyline is more for like a chick flick. And I wonder if there's any females there that are in giving any input on this storyline other than Mandy Rose. And if it's coming from just a male side, I don't know if a male could really interpret a chick flick type storyline like maybe this woman did.
Good point. Do you think that are there other notable? Do any of us know of any named women writers behind the scenes? And we only know that girl because she got let go. Do they have any other women writers on staff? Is the Dana Warrior still there? Is she with the company anymore?
Well, Dana Warrior is still doing stuff, but I always thought that Dana Warrior was more like, I don't want to say a freelancer.
Yeah.
I don't mean freeloader. Freelancer. Difference. I don't know if she is actually a paid WWE employee. I know that she was definitely helping out, and she wasn't doing it obviously for free. Shout out to Mr. Krebs. But I don't know if she's involved with anything right now. I mean, they furloughed, a bunch of guys that they might be bringing back, but, they did let go. Wasn't Fit Finley one of them that they let go?
Yeah, he got let go. Yeah.
And that guy was probably, you talk about women's revolution, that motherfucker, any women that really go on to have unbelievable careers, that write autobiographies, the forward should be, all of them should be written by Fit Finley.
They all give him props. Every one of them gives him props. He's on every female shoot interview. They rave about him. He's the biggest proponent for women wrestling from the male side of the old school guys.
Yeah, absolutely. But it just feels like it's missing, when they say it's missing a woman's touch.
Yeah, it is.
Like you clean your house and you think it looks perfectly clean, but the house doesn't have a woman's touch to it. And look, I'm only saying that because I'm heterosexual. I don't want anybody that's gay to take that the wrong way.
It's not a misogynist comment. It's not misogynist.
Yeah, it's not meant that way. I'm a heterosexual so I say it like that. I mean in a women's touch, like, the person, your mate, sees it a different way. I think this needs a little bit of a woman's touch. And I don't know. But obviously it's not a ratings grabber. No. This Wednesday we have, somebody brought up Velveteen Dream. We have Velveteen Dream taking on Adam Cole. Can we say that this is pretty much the final nail in the coffin for these clout chasers with the Dream situation? Is that how you feel, or you think there's still a lot of unknown?
No, I was going to use your term, a nothing burger, as we said last week. There's nothing came of it. I haven't heard anything of it. I think it died on the vine, and I think, that's it. They're proceeding forward, and unless you saw something I didn't see, I'm online every day like you. You heard anything? I haven't.
The only thing that I had, and
something would have broke out by now. It's too far now along.
Last Wednesday, I looked into it. No, that police report that they claimed was filed. Not only was there no police report filed, there was no cyber crime filed against him either. There's no reports. We checked Canada. I wasn't the only one. I had a few people help me because I have no access to Canada. But and the people that helped me, I trust very much. No report filed in Canada. No report filed in Washington. No report filed in Florida. A lot of people think that Velveteen Dream still lives in Washington. I actually know where the guy lives. I don't have his address, but I actually did a little research. And again, at the end of the day, my original instinct appears to be the correct one. That these were clout chasers. These were people. That's why I tell you, man, the original story is that Velveteen Dream invited fans to chat with him and, whatever. I don't think it's a smart idea. I don't know if you saw this tonight. Of course, it's not the same situation, but I could only imagine what could possibly be going her way. You see what Charly Caruso did?
With?
A phone.
No, I didn't see what.
She posted on Twitter about 2 hours ago a phone number. And she invited all of her fans to text her.
Oh,
now,
really?
and it was interesting. It was a 917 area code. So our neck of the woods, 917 is New York, but I know people use 917 in other areas. Now, again, anybody could get a phone number with any area code they want. But, I could only imagine what some people may be trying to text Charly Caruso. But in the heels of what happened with Velveteen Dream and how, whether he was hacked or not hacked or in offering to chat with fans, I think there's a line. I don't mean to sound fucked up. If this was a children's hospital, if this was a fucking, you know what I mean? Like if it was a really special set of circumstances, Shriners, Make-A-Wish, fine. But to just put your number out there for strangers, in my opinion, you're only asking for trouble. The intention is very genuine. I'm sure Velveteen Dream, Charly Caruso, others who have done it, I want everybody to text me. I want everybody to feel like they can approach me. But that's just asking for nefarious, things on other people, and you see what's going on with Velveteen Dream. When they advertised this match today, I immediately went on social media and I'm looking at these people, these original clout chasers who were nailing him to the cross. We had Easter not too long ago. He was the fucking Black Jesus Christ being nailed to the cross over this. And they're like, oh, why is WWE ducking this? How could they put a pedophile on NXT?
Oh, that's
like
terrible.
Every single comment is everything but, for the most part, everything but, I guess he didn't do this. Why would WWE put this guy on TV in a championship match if he sent nudes to a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. He didn't do it one time, two times, 1, 2, 3. So, instead of just saying, hey, I guess he didn't do it. I guess, these people were full of shit. Instead, how could they have a pedophile? And that's going to stick with him unless one of these clout chasers gets arrested or is taken to court over this. This is going to stick with Velveteen Dream for the rest of his career. As years go by, people will forget about it. You know, I still remember when Titus O'Neil put his pee-pee on Twitter and then claimed he was hacked. That's why I'm still blocked from Titus O'Neil to this day.
Oh, you're still blocked? Yeah, I mean, like what you said before with Charly Caruso did, there's two reasons that people do that. One is boredom with the lockdown and everything. Number two is, you're right, to try and say, hey, you know, I relate to all you fans. Listen, I'm not afraid to put myself out there. But I think to a certain, like, celebrity, or even a Charly Caruso, especially a female, you're making yourself vulnerable. And same thing with Velveteen Dream, you know. Even chatting with 15, 16-year-olds. I mean, I book bands for a living, and I don't ever talk to minors late at night on the computer. Or call me during the day. And actually, I usually, if someone's under 18, I talk to their parents to even book them in the club. So again, you kind of know the protocol of what's proper when you're older. I mean, Velveteen Dream, they say, oh, he's 24, 25. It's not the point. When I was 24, 25, I knew I shouldn't be talking to a 15-year-old. So use your smarts. I mean, he's over as it is. Him and Charly Caruso are over. They don't need to get more over with the fans. Their careers are not lagging. They're not desperate for attention. It's not a lure to get more fans. They're fine. So it might be boredom, DT, or just like, hey, I come up with an idea. Maybe I can do this. It maybe gets approved. But I'm sure Velveteen Dream, what he was doing in the off hours is not approved by Stephanie, Triple H, or Vince. I told them, don't be chatting with teenagers. That's not a good idea, Patrick. You know, I don't know. Charlie probably got the green light, but I'm sure Velveteen Dream did not.
See, even with that conversation that was put publicly, that the kid was talking about he wants to be an announcer, that's a conversation that I wouldn't have, period. I'll give you a good example with us. We have a very loyal follower of the show, and he goes on Twitter by the name of Don Pony. And that guy would always send me messages, and he was what, 13 years old, 14 years old? And I would say, thank you for the support and everything. But, you know, I avoided conversations because I don't think it's appropriate to be chatting with someone that age. It could be simply about a wrestling storyline, but I just don't think it's appropriate. And the thing is that when you have the WWE Universe, and a large portion of that universe are under the age of 18. You know, Charly Caruso is one of those, you know, teenage crushes that a lot of guys have on her. And hey, if you're just texting, I'm not saying that, you know, she's going to text flirty or anything like that, but, you know, like, I don't know. I just think that you're inviting yourself to unneeded trouble. And I would think, after what happened with Velveteen Dream, the last thing I would do is, you know, say, hey, send me texts. You know, I know you want to be extremely sociable, but I think you probably would have just as much success as to go on Instagram or go on Twitter and say, hey, you know, got 30 minutes to kill. Let's do a chat, you know, publicly. You know, post your questions, this and that. Because, I mean, you send her a text. What are you going to say? Oh, Charlie, you're the best. Oh, thank you very much. What else could you say? Charlie, you know, how could I get into I mean, really, what are you going to say? What's your favorite color?
It's true. Didn't Peyton Royce get us?
What school did you go to?
She left her, Peyton Royce a while back, left her DMs open on Instagram. I remember she put about the heinous shit that people said to her. She even put some of the messages on blast, like, this is the way you talk to women or whatever. And then I think I can't remember if it was you or someone else, this was months ago. Like, why would you leave your messages open for people to even write you or even engage in that? And then she commented on the disgusting things certain people say. I'm like, they should block that shit right off the bat, especially if you're a celebrity female. You shouldn't have your DMs open to the public.
I say this lightheartedly. Peyton Royce is an absolute moron to do that, because for the last 20 years, you've had almost every attractive woman in wrestling, you know, who accepted messages or emails or private messages from fans have all been creeped out with dick pics and requests for nudes. Oh, yeah. Why would Peyton Royce think anything different? You know, did she think that, oh, in Australia, we don't do that? You know, blah, 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 blah. I mean, you're the one that opened your DMs. I'm not saying that she had any, you know, nefarious reasons to do that, but, you know, it's like, you open your DMs and then you're shocked that you get dick pics.
Or some nasty.
I mean, that's like if I live in a fucking bad neighborhood and I keep my doors unlocked, chances are nobody's going to break into my house, even in a decent neighborhood. All right, I'm in a decent neighborhood. I have my doors unlocked, but I don't tell anybody. Nobody's going to stop at my house and try to break in. But if I fucking unlock my doors and say, hey, WWE Universe, here's my address, and my doors are unlocked, some motherfucker might think, hey, let me open the door, let him in, Paul Simon. No, what the fuck did she expect? Did she expect every altar boy that say, I'm going to be nice? I'm going to send her flower pictures. And she's an idiot. You fucking open your DMs and then you get that and you act shocked. Just my opinion.
Oh, again, well, I mean, listen, like wrestling fans, like anything else, there's a majority of good people, like, real community oriented, the best fans. We've seen it firsthand, how loyal fans are. And like I said, good people. We get to know some of them just like us. But then there's some that are just fucking weirdos, man, to the highest level, and will say inappropriate things and cannot get with the reality of what's proper and what's not, whether it's a mental thing or whether it's just someone trying to push it as far as it can go by saying fucking crazy shit. Yeah. Some people are just inappropriate and they think it's a ha, but it's not. It's actually disturbing.
You're just asking for trouble. I mean, Charly Caruso, props to her. She's very sociable. She's very interactive with her fans. I just think, now look, that number could be a Skype number.
Yeah, it could be, right?
I mean, you could get text messages through Skype. I actually use my Skype now for a second number for text messages because I don't want customers to have my private cell number because I'm trying to stay away from customers as much as possible, even though my office is still open. In fact, today I had I went to Quest Diagnostics in Cedarhurst and I got the antibody test done for COVID-19 to see if I ever had it.
Oh, I got a test there last year.
Yeah. I went there, Rockaway Turnpike. You really can't see it, but they took blood earlier today. 2 to 5 days, I'll get my results, see if I ever had COVID-19, if I have the antibodies. Because
you just went there? I got a bill on my table from there right now.
I went today.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went this morning. It actually was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. I arranged the test online. And for anybody that's, let me explain this to everybody out there. I try to keep politics off these shows unless it's like Patreon or even Friday when people, ask about political stuff. But I'll say this. When you hear our vice president, more our vice president than anybody else, if you hear him say that a lot of states don't even realize that tests are available with different labs and other places. What's up, Joe Punches? I'll bring you up in a minute. But what happens is when our vice president said that there's tests available and some states don't even know that all the labs have access to the tests. I invite anybody right now, go to Quest Diagnostics website, type in COVID-19. You right now for $119 can have the test done. And almost every Quest Diagnostics has the capability of doing a test. You make the appointment on the computer, you pay the money, and basically you go down there and you print up a barcode or you keep it on your phone and you walk into the Quest Diagnostics. There's nobody in there. No patients, no secretary, no nothing. You walk in there and there's a scanner. And you scan your barcode, you check in. And then it asks you, do you want to wait outside in your car? And then they'll call you on your cell phone when they're ready to take you, or do you want to sit in the waiting room? So since there was nobody there, I said, all right, I'll sit in the waiting room. Had the mask on and everything. Not even 2 minutes later, woman calls me in. She had me sign one thing, and she took blood from me. And she said, we'll email you your results in 2 to 5 days. I left my house at 12:10. I was home before 1 o'clock. That's how quick it was to go there and back. No traffic, no waiting.
Only one in there when you get in the blood?
What'd you say?
You were the only one there?
I was the only one. Well, you know what they're doing? They're doing appointments every 15 minutes.
Right.
So they're not overlapping. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you out there, your regular doctor you go to, you'll make an appointment for, let's say, 1 o'clock. You walk in and there's like 20 fucking people waiting. And then you find out 10 of them had 1 o'clock appointments.
That's true.
A lot of doctors like to pull that shit. They're not doing that. So, you know, they don't want people to show up early either. 5 minutes before, fine. But they're spreading them out so nobody really interacts with each other.
That's a good idea.
When I get those results, I will definitely let everybody know. Absolutely. I'll let everybody know. But
What made you do that?
Yeah. But, and by the way, everyone, you know, if in case you're not aware of it already, this past Friday, Mish and I on Friday did the One Chip Challenge, the Paqui, chip, and we survived it. That screenshot is actually from the show. We did not pose for it. I had unbelievable pain for about 36 hours. Then it went away. So I survived it. Mish, I don't want to get into too much detail. I'd rather let him tell everybody on Frank and Gus or Soup this week. He no-sold it, did the challenge, over 10 minutes, didn't take a sip of water. Me, I drank a half a gallon of water. I ate a whole tub of ice cream.
I saw it.
Yeah, he told me, I'm sorry, Mish, if I'm blowing your spot over here, but he had to do a teleconference today with a doctor. You do your doctor's appointment over the phone now instead of going into the office. That morning, he took a dump, and when he went to flush, he looked in the toilet, and there were worms, dead worms.
Are you kidding me?
I swear on my mother. And there is a medical condition where you have these types of worms in your stomach, and they live on the walls of your intestine. I know it's capsian or something like that. And when you eat extremely spicy foods or something else, it could kill those worms. And he called the doctor today and said that he saw dead worms in his toilet. Doctor thinks he had some other condition, but he told me yesterday, he says, I think this fucking chip might have saved his life. I'm not joking. It's a really whacked out story. And Kev, Mish is not one to, do gumpy stories as far as gump stuff. So, the only thing I told him not to do is not to send me a screenshot of the shit. So
I don't.
No, but it was, it was fun. And, do another challenge. A lot of people are bringing up the Bean Boozled challenge, I think it's called. Basically, there's some company where you buy jelly beans and the colors, it either could be like coconut ice cream or it could be the smell of someone's crotch. You don't know if the jelly bean is a pleasurable flavor or if it's something that tastes like throw up.
Let me ask you something though. What is that actually? If you can describe it for people who don't really know anything about it. I didn't know. I had to look it up. I never heard of that thing until I saw you guys doing it. So I looked it up. But what does it actually taste like?
I took a tiny little piece and it tasted nasty. It's soon as you put it on your tongue, it burns tremendously. It's just a severe burn that you never ever experienced before. I did do some research, and it's the equivalent of pepper spray. So if you ever see when somebody gets sprayed with pepper spray, imagine, that heat, you eating it.
In your mouth, yeah.
When I ate it and it went down, for the first couple of seconds, you feel that unbelievable heat. The problem is that, if you eat hot wings or something like that, you'll have that first burst of heat, but then you kind of get used to it, or it starts to subside a little bit. You have a little blue cheese, a little this or that with it. This would just get worse and worse and worse. And what was bad about it too, and this is what happened to me for about 36 hours, is the chip went into my system and it irritated my whole stomach. So that night I was fine. Then around 6 o'clock in the morning, I started getting these unbelievable cramps, and I must have hit the bathroom 7 or 8 times. But I think it actually cleaned me out, believe it or not. But it's just an unbelievable burn. If there's any way for me to describe it, did you ever have a stress test done?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Too.
Did you ever get the injection?
Of the dye?
No, not the dye, but the injection instead of going on the treadmill.
No. I
Okay. It's not as bad as what it used to be 10, 15 years ago, but if anybody out there has ever had a stress test done and done the injection, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't want to go on a treadmill, and me, I never wanted to go on a treadmill because of my car accident, but you can get, instead of the treadmill, an injection. They inject a fluid in you, and it literally races your heartbeat, and it literally slows down your heartbeat also. It simulates you on a treadmill for like 15 minutes. And for about 15, 20 seconds, you feel like you're going to die. Like you can't even talk. But then after 15, 20 seconds, it starts to wear off. You have like this heat flash or whatever. But for 15, 20 seconds, your heart races to like 160 beats a minute. And then they slow it down to simulate you being on a treadmill. So if anybody that's ever had that done, if you could just compare that moment where you couldn't even talk, just picture that being heat in your mouth, and that lasts for about 10, 15 minutes.
Does it burn your esophagus?
It didn't burn my esophagus. Once Saturday night came around, Sunday morning, I was completely better. I took a lot of Tums, but my honest opinion, unless someone is doing it for charity or doing it to celebrate something or doing it to, you know, for a real good reason, I don't suggest anybody to do that because it's fucking painful, man. It's now because it's over, like I don't feel it anymore. Like I say to myself, oh, maybe I would do it again. I don't think I would ever do that again.
Why would you?
My fiance was inside, and I went to get my cell phone to show pictures of people at my floor because I had blown up something. And when I went inside, she's like, how do you feel? And I'm like, I really can't talk right now. And she's like, good. She's like, you deserved it. You know, she thought I was an absolute moron to do that. But, hey, it was a good laugh. Everybody, Joe Punches and everybody loved it. You know, it was fun times. And, you know, me, I'd rather do something that's not as painful. You know, like if I put a jelly bean in my mouth and it tastes like, you know, like smelly pussy, you know what I mean? All right, yeah, it's disgusting or whatever. I spit it out. But at least as soon as you spit it, it's not anything to get you sick. It's just they put different ingredients in there that I guess apparently simulate, you know, like dirty laundry, smelly, sweaty feet, sweaty balls, fish, you know. So something like that is more innocent, but this chip thing was too painful. Too painful.
People putting stuff in their mouth might be a reason why we're locked down now for fucking up times.
But man, Mish is not human. That's all I'm gonna say. This motherfucker is not human.
No selling it. He was smiling up a storm. I told him he looked way too happy in that promo picture.
Yeah. Speaking of not human in a lot of people's eyes, Charlotte today, we talked about it earlier. She beat Liv Morgan. You know, random, let me challenge the champion. You know, she tried. Again, this reminds me of what I said about a month ago. Remember that Steve Austin promo in ECW? You know, give this German kid 6 good minutes. WCW. That's what it felt like. It felt like, Charlotte, give Liv Morgan 6 good minutes. You know?
It was one of the only good matches on this fucking show tonight. Not for nothing.
You think Io Shirai has any chance on Wednesday?
I'm rooting for her, but I don't think so. I think Charlotte will beat her handily.
Yeah, I don't see there's any chance. I know a lot of people, I think it's going to be some bullshit clusterfuck finish. Somebody may do a run-in. So something is going to cause... I just can't see Io Shirai getting pinned clean on this. Some type of fuckery is going to go down.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it should be a good match, though. I mean, that's new to everybody. We've never seen these two go at it, so it's something fresh at least.
Yeah. Anthony Diaz, I don't care if really spicy foods build your immune system. I don't like spicy foods. I can't stand them. And thank you, Mega Man. But I honestly, I'm like looking into the Death Nut and some of the other ones, but I honestly, it was funny. Somebody had actually asked me if I had a choice of eating the chip or watching like a whole block of Bella matches. I would actually probably eat the chip. But in hindsight, I don't know if I would eat the chip or do this instead. Did you see this book that's coming out tomorrow for the Bellas?
No, what is it?
I guess it's their memoir. It's coming out tomorrow. We were going to actually talk about it last week, but we ran out of time, thank God. And I completely forgot to bring it up on Wednesday. But they have a book coming out. It's called Incomparable. And the synopsis is, it's 256 pages, by the way, a raw, honest, and revealing co-memoir by Brie and Nikki Bella, twin sisters, WWE Hall of Fame inductees, and stars of the show, blah, 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 blah. As twins, the Bellas have always competed. Legend has it that Nikki drop-kicked Brie in the womb. So, okay, I see where this is going already. They're talking about how they became like models to Bella performers to Birdie B. They shine the diamond, resolved to be survivors and the heroes of their own stories, take control. Fuck you. I ain't buying that book. Good for them. I mean, look, they never turn me down on a date or anything, so it's not like I don't dislike them, but man, Kev, I've brought this up before. I'll ask you now again, and I ask our universe, our army, what's yours? The Castle what?
Castle Crusaders.
Castle Crusaders. The Don Zillion. I ask everybody this that's been a lifelong wrestling fan for many, many years. You, just for a second, go back in time when the Bellas first came in. Did I, like, get hit in the head with a rock and maybe just forgot, like, 10 years of my life? Was there ever a point where the Bellas were, like the pioneers of women's wrestling? I mean, they wrestled, they did twin fucking switches, they would escort like celebrities and Raw guest hosts to the ring, they fucking danced with Carlito and I mean, am I missing something? Are they these big pioneers for real? I mean, I know that they're inspirational. I'm not taking that away. You could be this low on the food chain and be inspirational. Is there something I'm missing with them?
Well, let's be honest, and their profile get raised mostly when they started dating John Cena and Daniel Bryan, respectively. Didn't that really elevate their notoriety? Correct me if I'm wrong, right? I mean, that's when really they started to get why else did they start to get the push? Wasn't it the kind of their social status in the locker room and then out and about on the town with two of the top guys? I know in fairness to Brie, she wasn't like, stair climbing because she was dating Daniel Bryan before he was a big top guy. But Nikki was with Cena for a while, and obviously he was the big dog, and no pun intended for Roman Reigns, in the locker room. So I'm saying my whole thing with them is it was the status of who they were dating, that it was, wow, one's with Daniel, one's with John. So that's when I noticed it, really. I mean, what else did they do? If someone correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not even trying to be a dick. I don't remember. Did they have some great match? Like, why did they get elevated? I don't even remember why they got elevated.
My apologies for everybody that had to see that book cover for that extended period of time. I forgot that I left it up there. My honest opinion, Kevin, I think
they got on Total Divas, but I'm saying, was that really what elevated them in the ring? They started to get the respect of being women, some sort of ring generals or something. Just because they were on Total Divas, that's what gave them all this?
I think they're legends as far as like women in wrestling transitioning to reality television. But, the whole thing, and I say it to this day that amazes me, is that if Divas was such a dirty word in women's wrestling, that you change your title from the butterfly belt to the women's title, how the fuck do you... And I say this with no disrespect intended, But if the term divas is such a dirty word or it's such a negative word, as a woman, like, how do you not, like, lobby and insist that the name of the show be changed? Now, yes, they have Total Bellas now, but to this day, it's still called Total Divas. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. To me, it's a double standard. I don't think the term divas is a dirty word. When I think of divas, I think of Aretha Franklin. I think of, R&B stars from the 50s, 60s,
Whitney
70s.
Houston, Sade. When I think of diva, I think of an iconic singer from who's got a lot of history and legacy. Is that an insult? That's not an insulting term.
Yeah.
I don't think it is to anybody in the music industry. It isn't.
I mean, if WWE made the divas a dirty word in their women's wrestling, well, then make divas a good word in women's wrestling. Just getting rid of the word doesn't mean shit. I look back on it, and I'm sure the Bellas have gotten along with a lot of the roster, and I'm sure, and they are inspirational, and, girls, of today idolize them. But as far as their wrestling career, I don't ever remember, coming up with the women's revolution doesn't mean that you are the women's revolution. There are a lot of people who came up with some wonderful ideas over the years. And just because you brainstorm and think of an idea doesn't mean that, you know what I mean? Like if I think of, hey, maybe we could build this. Somebody else builds it. I can't take credit for it. I fucking thought, hey, it's a good idea if we did this. If someone else does it, I can't take credit for the build. I could maybe take credit for the idea. So I don't know. To me, I think they're overhyped. I think they're more reality TV than wrestling, in my opinion. It's always how I felt.
It's funny, DT, I'm looking up the definition because I was just curious and probably would have did this a long time ago, but since we're using the word diva, and the two definitions for diva, one obviously doesn't apply. A famous female opera singer, okay? And the second one is a self-important person who is temperamental and difficult to please, typically used of a woman. So I don't know if that is a compliment.
Well, you know what? I bet you that is one of 5 different definitions, and maybe up to 20 years ago, that would have been definition number 5 or 6 on the list. But now, because of the PC era we live in, they have elevated that definition to like number 2. I think if you go further with definitions, I think it's more of like a pioneer. I think of diva, I think of a pioneer. I think someone who...
A famous female singer of popular music would be another one.
Okay.
But those are the top 3. Famous female opera singer, a famous female singer of popular music, and a self-important person who's temperamental and difficult to please.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I don't know. I just think they...
You're right, DT. There's different definitions, but, as I said, I pulled up this top 3.
Maybe pioneer is not a good word, but I mean someone who is definitely inspired and paved the way for the next generation. Like I said, I always thought of, the women in music in the 60s, the 50s, 60s, and 70s paved the way for, the Whitney Houstons. And I always looked at it like that. And I maybe I always looked at it in a musical sense, but I don't think diva is always a dirty word.
A DT, is a prima donna and a diva the same thing to you? Sean is asking.
For some people. For some people, but not as an overall definition. Prima donna, there's no other way to put it. Prima donna is just one definition. Diva could be interpreted many different ways.
That's true. That's a good point.
So
I agree. Yeah.
Want to shout out Raheem James, Daniel Medina, Shahid Gonzalez, Louis Aranese, Jay Gardenhire, Awil Marabuki, Sekaraka, Okafor. I hope I got that right. The Roach Killer, Chris Savage, nice. Kenneth Hewlett, Russell Windle, Bruce Couch, and our newest associate producer, Charlie Ward. So, what comes to mind when I say the word Charlie Ward?
Drummer for Rolling Stones?
No, okay, that's for you. For me, I always think of the Knicks. And when he played for the Knicks, every time he would get a basket, I always remember the announcer going, Charlie Ward! I don't know. I like Charlie Ward when he was on the Knicks.
When was that, 10 years ago?
About. I'd say around 2000, give or take a few years. So, man, I miss my old Knicks. From Pat Riley up until early 2000s, and then that was it for me.
Oh, that's it with the Knicks.
Thank God I still got a lot of their games on DVD that I taped off for TV. So, we're going to get back to Raw in a little bit. We'll get into some of the matches that went down. We got a couple other news tidbits we want to share. I don't know if anybody is aware of this. We've talked about it on this show for about 5 weeks. Maybe not in the last 2, but we were confused why WWE has done nothing for charity in the middle of this crisis. And number 2, we couldn't understand why WWE was not coming up with ideas of like masks. Have people wear WWE-themed masks. Well, I guess because they're part of this, AmeriCares Foundation, where the proceeds are going to give needed medical supplies for healthcare workers. Look, a good deed is a good deed, but we've already passed the curve. I understand it takes a little time to make these things up, but why the fuck did WWE not do this 4 to 6 weeks ago? So, and for those that don't know what I'm talking about, they now are selling masks, $13 a piece. They're washable, and you could get them with some of your favorite wrestlers' logos on it from this era and last: Triple H, Bray Wyatt, Ric Flair, Randy Savage, Seth Rollins, Ali, Ultimate Warrior, New Day, Heavy Machinery, Cena, Kane, Becky Lynch, Sasha, and a few others. I don't know. I mean, what's your thoughts? Better late than never, in your opinion?
Yeah, sure. Better late than never. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of curious why they weren't. But they eventually do something, DT. We can't say they're not charitable,
Yeah. I still am amazed how WWE is, like, it took being part of a bigger charity that features athletes, musicians, like it took being part of a bigger charity to do something. And that kind of like rubs me the wrong way a little bit. It's like for the last 6 weeks, you wouldn't call the virus by its name. You wouldn't put any PSA announcements other than fucking washing hands, which everybody should be doing anyway. But now they have the masks on sale. And the thing is that I think these masks will be on sale for years to come.
Where do you buy them at WWE.com?
WWE's website.
Okay.
Yeah, WWE's website. They're not bad looking. $13, a little pricey for one cloth mask. But, I kind of think you probably should have done like a 2 or 3 pack, because you're really supposed to wash them each day. And those masks, you wear it every single day or 5 days out of the week. I guarantee if you wash them 5 times, that son of a bitch is going to already start getting lint balls on it and stuff like that.
I'm going to check out the Ultimate Warrior one.
Yeah, no Bella's one, by the way. I don't remember a Bella's one. And you know what? I agree with you, Anthony. You let them scissor kick each other, but I'll tell you this much, man. I don't know if before we wrap up the Bella's conversation, I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like over the last 2 years, almost since the Cena breakup with Nikki Bella, it almost feels like WWE has really tried to distance themselves from the Bellas. There was some times that you thought they were going to be invited back and they weren't. I don't think they're on bad terms or anything like that. Yes, they were inducted for the Hall of Fame. But it just feels like WWE does not mention them as much as they would in the past. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, Not as much in the past. They still bring them up. They still do conversation articles. But it just feels like, especially with Nikki Cross. You know what I mean? Like, you think, if I say the word Nikki, like, you tell me someone else in wrestling who is really high on the food chain. in women's wrestling, and they had two of the same name.
Oh, you're talking about Nikki?
Yeah, Nikki Cross and Nikki Bella.
Yeah. Well, out of sight, out of mind, DT. You know, it's like anything else. Out of sight, out of mind. Nikki Cross is here. Nikki Bella is not.
Yeah. Well, someone asked, just to wrap up this conversation about divas, do we think WWE removing the diva term alienates the women from the early to mid 2000s? You know, like McCool, Layla, and them. Do you think it does?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. WWE's done a piss poor management of the women from yesteryear. I mean, I think of women like Molly. Sure, Victoria was on bad terms, but there's a lot of women that they have totally forgot about. And when they come back and they get no reaction, they act shocked like, oh, how come they're not getting a reaction? Well, you fucking haven't brought them up for 10 years.
Well, yeah, I think that's always been a problem. You know, like even Ivory, when she was at the Hall of Fame, it was like, I'm sure half the crowd didn't know who she was. But they, you know, they can't mention. I mean, listen, they have their favorites that they mention a lot, and then they have people that they don't mention at all. I mean, you wouldn't even know. Some of the men DTs who have been, you never hear a Bam Bam Bigelow or Hercules Hernandez reference ever, not even by Corey Graves. They don't mention certain people ever. Yeah.
Much love to everybody who is on the YouTube chat right now, over 1,000 of you. So much love. Speaking of love, you know, I've tried to avoid the Sami Zayn conversation for the last 2 weeks after my original rant, which I did apologize for some of it. I took it way too personal. But, you know, Sami Zayn has not been on TV for the last bunch of weeks. Sami Zayn does not feel comfortable wrestling right now with coronavirus, which I totally respect, but I got a question for you. Because this is what we do. Not trying to stir the pot, but you think of the entire WWE roster. You think of the entire roster who is not on TV right now. Now, in the case of Kevin Owens did an interview, and, you know, WWE gave the option of not traveling, and he has chosen to stay home. Plus, he talked about how he had an injured ankle from WrestleMania. He doesn't know if it was a slight fracture or a sprain. So there's more than one reason. But, you know, Kevin Owens, when he did this interview with the Canadian press, very friendly, you know, very, you know, he's relaxed. He loves WWE. He's home with his family. You know, he's taking it easy. WWE made it optional, stay home, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But do you remember about 2 or 3 weeks ago, somebody anonymously by the name of John contacted the Florida government and said that WWE is forcing people to go there, and, you know, you almost feel like your job is on the line if you don't show up. And the person felt very uncomfortable with performing there and demanded that Florida shut down WWE for a little while. Now, when I look at the entire roster, now, yes, some people have been released since then, or the statement might have come out after the releases. In fact, it was right around that time. My question to you is, this is just speculation. Do you think that John may have been Sami Zayn?
It's possible. Well, the statement definitely came out after the releases, by the way.
Yeah, after the releases. So, yeah.
It was after.
So it wasn't somebody who has already been released. So it's somebody who is still there that is not on TV. And when you look at that list, it is very small. I don't know, man. Again, I'm not trying to stir anything up, but
Possible. It's possible it could be anybody. But, I mean, even use the name John. That's like Dear John. You know, it's a generic. No offense to Johns out there. It's a lovely name. But it's a go-to name. It's like anything else signed. You know, like I said, that's why they call it Dear John letter.
I hated that show.
Dear John.
Dear John. Dear John.
Wasn't that filmed in your neck of Queens? No, that was Rego Park. That was
Rego Park, yeah. Jewish. That's the Jewish area, Rego Park. That's where I met that girl that time. She took me back to her apartment. She only had 3 toes with the bikini outfit. That was Rego Park. Swear to God.
Oh my God, Rego Park.
Rego Park.
Dear John Hirsch from Taxi.
I hated that show.
Yeah, you know, I like Judd Hirsch though. He's funny.
Oh yeah, he was good in Taxi. I mean, I can never understand why the redheaded chick, she actually wanted to fool around with him. I'm like, you know, I don't care if he was like if he was like the last person on earth, I wouldn't fucking kiss that. Did he? He didn't look attractive in any way. He looked.
She liked his intelligence.
Oh.
Right now, a lot of people are like, what the fuck are they talking about? The show Taxi, it's a classic. Check it out if you're younger, if you never heard of it. But yeah, it could be Sami Zayn. I mean, that's just like I said, John. It's a go-to thing. WWE, you know, vehemently denied it and shot it down, saying no one's forced to work. You know, they did issue a statement. But it could have been Sami Zayn. But if he did that, that's kind of a rat fuck thing to do. But again, it's just speculation. We have no evidence. It could be him. It could be anybody. It could be the cameraman.
You know, the fact, you know, again, I invite anybody out there tuning in, go on WWE's website, look at the roster, and look at who has not been on TV for the last 3 weeks when the releases happened. You take that list and you just ask yourself, who on that list do you feel like would go to the extent to demand Florida shut down WWE? Again, I'm just, in my opinion, you look at the list and you can't help but to be focused on one name for the most part. I just, you know, because look, we all wondered who the fuck was John. And, you know, I don't see anybody else off TV right now other than Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens does not give me the vibe that, you know, hey, honey, let's go play with the dogs. But hold on a second. I got to call Florida and tell Florida to shut down WWE. It just does not pass that smell test for me. I even the Velveteen Dream stuff, from day one, it didn't pass the smell test for me. Because you just see how, you look at the timeline, you see how things go down and things just don't add up. But I don't think it was Cody John Rhodes. I don't think Cody could care less if WWE is on or off right now in Florida. Yeah. Personally, I think Cody would rather WWE be going on in Florida because then it opens up the opportunity for AEW as well.
No,
what do you think about them possibly going back to some live crowds in June or July?
You mean the 25% thing idea that was floating
Yeah.
out there? It's not a bad idea. I mean, depending on how they do the seating and stuff, they need some sort of whatever they can do to get live crowds back. I'm all for it. Obviously, I'm in the entertainment industry with bands and live crowds and everything. We want that for ourselves, but I'm not sure how that would work. I mean, obviously, in general admission, which is all seating. There's no particular thing that they can do other than do a separation, 6 feet of separation seats, which is going to look very awkward on TV. I can't imagine that. Someone was trying to say to me, Kevin, imagine like 6 feet apart, every person, every row, like even watching the NXT. Wouldn't that look so bizarre? It would, but they're going to try anything they can, whatever they can get. Even 25% of a crowd is better than no crowd. So right now, I think everyone's taking the scraps, at the entertainment industry, whatever we can get to get a live reaction, get a live crowd back in there, get some noise back in there. I'm all for it. I mean, as a wrestling fan, we're all done with this no crowd shit. I mean, obviously it's out of our hands, but if any of us, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, you want crowds back? I never missed crowds so much in my life. I feel bad for shitting on some of the WWE crowds and AEW crowds. Now I can't wait to see them. I think I'm going to break down and cry next time I see a crowd in a wrestling arena. It's been so. It seems like much longer than the what are we at? 8 weeks now, DT?
Yeah,
that it's been. Yeah. It's a long time, and everybody wants to get back. I know everyone wants to be safe and everything, but we gotta start getting back, and little by little, trickle it in. Whatever's got to be done, let's do it.
Yeah, I'll say this much. To be honest with you, I talked about last week or the week before the idea of you buy 2 tickets. They automatically give you 4. They reserve 4 because the 1 seat to the left and the 1 seat to the right is empty. You buy a family of 4 tickets. You buy 4 tickets, for your family. They actually reserve 6. You got the 4, then 1 seat to the left and right of you. Those are empty. And the more I thought about it, the more I said, even though that's a lot of people said it's an awesome idea, I see a big problem when WWE or AEW go back to live crowds, unless the crowds really care about, setting an example. Unfortunately, for a lot of wrestling fans, yours truly back in the day, we're not necessarily the ones to set an example. All right. And what I mean by that is I could picture, even if the building is only 25% full, fucking wrestler walks down that aisle, you're going to see everybody bolt to the fucking guardrail to try to touch the wrestler or get close to the wrestler or take a picture. Like, I just envision people just bunching together. What are you going to do? You're going to call a security guard over? You're going to call cops over? Like, social distance. I just picture, little kids like running to the side to get closer to the wrestlers. So I think that's going to be problem number one. That's going to be a challenge. That's why I think even if they're allowed to have live crowds, let's say even June 1st, they may wait an extra month because they know once that crowd is in the building, even if it's a tiny crowd, you start getting people that start bundling, especially New Sale, University, whatever that place is, the name of it, Full Sail.
Full Sail.
I mean, imagine if only 1/4 of the fans go and then they start seeing it, because a lot of the same fans attended. Oh my God, it's John. John, holy shit, how you doing? That social distancing is going to go out the window for a lot of people. Plus, masks are encouraged, but it's not mandatory. So that kind of disturbs me a little bit. I would hope that everybody would have been required to wear a mask for a sporting event. And even with that, I see people taking it off. I see that happening. Come on, you're on the beach. You're on the beach and you're hanging out. Everybody's forced to wear a mask in New York still. And you want to catch a rap with a chick. I seriously doubt you're going to go up to a chick and say, go like, hey, baby, you look hot. Like, you can't see half the person's face. So I think people are going to take it off.
It's pretty muffled, too, when you're talking through a fucking bandana.
Yeah. Plus the drive-in thing, a lot of people loved my idea of having a wrestling ring and do it with a drive-in style. Everybody drives up with their cars. They sit in the cars. They tune into the radio station to get the commentator's feed. Everybody enjoys it. You could still hear loudness from the fans because the windows will be open. You can have concession people come up to the windows, or you bring your own food.
Like a drive-through movie?
Yeah, like a drive-in. But then I thought about this over the weekend because my mind is always racing. And then I said, you know why that would probably be a really bad idea for any Fed out there, even if it's an indie Fed? Imagine an indie Fed wanting to do an outside show, and they decide to do a drive-in style that everybody comes up with their cars, they stay in their cars, this guarantees social distancing. You know what's going to happen. I didn't even think about this when I came. You're going to get, instead of what chance, when you get like somebody like Dana, I'm not saying WWE, but we use any promotion. You get, Lisa Schmuck that can't cut a promo. Instead of the fans chanting, what? Every time she talks, they're going to fucking probably honk their horn. Could you imagine that? You're you're trying to cut a promo and you're in a drive-in and everybody starts fighting. Can you imagine if dozens of cars start honking their horns? People would be like, let's go, Joey. Honk, 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 honk. Oh, my God. That would be a fucking disaster. So
every time there's a good idea, there's always a glitch. You know what I mean? And if they're all good ideas, all brilliant ideas, there's always something that can backbite you in the end.
And
that'll be one of them.
And you see some of these hillbilly trucks and these Puerto Rican fucking cars that have like the horns that sound like like an 18-wheeler. Could you imagine? Hey, honey, let's go to wrestling. Let's get out of the house. We survived Corona, and you're sitting there with your loved one, and you're in your 1952 whatever. And then next to you is, fucking family or whatever, and they're nice people and everything. And all of a sudden, what? With a horn? Oh my God! You have fucking people having coronaries, man. All you need is one asshole with a big giant fucking horn. That's it. That's it. Every time somebody cuts a promo, instead of what, you'll hear horns blowing.
So like the General Lee from the Dukes has it.
I had two promoters send me emails and said, yo, I love your idea about the drive-in. If they're watching this, just remember, you got to play devil's advocate. Like I pitch it, I'm like, all right, where could things go wrong? And the funny thing is when I used to go to drive-ins as a kid with my friends to hang out, I don't remember people really beeping their horns ever. I don't remember anybody ever doing that. I'm sure they can have cops, threatening to kick somebody out. But, I don't know, man. I think probably, you just have, all you need is one fan, one car to start doing that. Like instead of this is awesome, honk, 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 everybody will be beeping their horns. That'll just be absolute disaster. Now, what you can do is WWE, let's say, does Money in the Bank. Right. And you can go to a drive-in and watch Money in the Bank on a big screen to get out of the house. The ring is not there. So you can honk your fucking horn all you want. The wrestlers aren't going to hear it. They're going to be somewhere else. So if you do simulcast, I think it's fine. But you can't do a live event in front of cars. Nah. I don't think that would work. So,
Jesus, it's funny.
Since we were talking about John before, I think it's only right if we show a little love to the real John Cena. Granted 650th wish, kid terminally ill in Florida, showed up wearing a rather cheap mask, but I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it was very nice. He's got the record for a wrestler for most visits, right, for kids.
I tell you, man.
He's a good guy. Cena's a good guy, no matter what we can say about. I mean, he's a good guy, a legit good guy, and one of the, whether you want to admit it or not, one of the probably Mount Rushmore for wrestling. One of the biggest.
Somebody wanted to see my shirt. I had the Tyson shirt on, but John Cena, it makes me feel good because there were many, many years I could not stand this guy. The Super Cena stuff. I truly believe, with the exception of children, I think the Super Cena stuff turned a lot of fans off, and people would just fantasize, when is he going to turn heel and this and that? But, we always wondered, because of the original Thugonomics, we always wondered if he's like a Marky Mark Jersey Shore prick in real life. Then we got a little insight of his relationship with Nikki Bella, and it was a little odd with the demands, and then he had the divorce before he met Nikki. But as the years go by, you realize the guy really is fucking authentic. He may not be a lot of people's favorites, but that guy really, truly does have a good heart. Maybe, he's developed this over the years, but man, it's really hard to dislike Cena right now.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, again, it's how he treats the fans. I mean, listen, no one's personal life is perfect, and he may be a quirky guy with Nikki Bella. Maybe he needed to be. But outside of that, forget all that stuff. It's how he treats the fans and how he treats the kids, and he's aces with them,
Yeah.
And clearly he's more than proven himself. I don't think even the most cynical person can put Cena down for this treatment of the fans. He treats the fans fine.
Yeah. There was something on TMZ about John Cena also and The Rock, that apparently Cena and The Rock are giving Becky Lynch a lot of tips because Becky Lynch may be the next person to, I don't want to say make it big in Hollywood, but she was just on that show Billions that I haven't had a chance to look at yet. But, hey, I like Becky Lynch. Mish and I showed a hell of a lot of love for her last year. And, we all did, but at different spurts, at different times. But something changed with WWE and Becky Lynch last year, way before coronavirus. And I brought it up, I think, last week, that since November, I think she's had, 3 matches or 6 matches on Raw? I mean, that's
I thought it was I said 30 or 50, and I thought you meant on touring around or whatever, and you revealed that you only had 3.
Yeah, there was again, everybody talks about, her title reign is now 380 days. I got to be honest with everyone. Nothing against Becky Lynch, please. This is the way WWE is utilizing her. But it feels, now again, I know next week she's going to be back in the mix a little bit. But even with that, next week she's going to be back. Edge and Randy Orton, you know, I guess Edge, what was that guy that fell asleep under a tree for 100 years? Rumpelstiltskin?
Was it Rumpelstiltskin?
Is it Rumpelstiltskin? Someone would, well, I'm sure will correct me, especially if I'm wrong.
It's not Nikolai Volkov. It's
No. There was a fable where Rip Van Winkle. Thank you, Lion.
Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah, I mean Edge is like Rip Van Winkle, like WrestleMania night. Honey, I did it. You know, people are bitching and the match went too long. Hey, I'm gonna go to sleep. He fucking went to sleep and he woke up 6 weeks later. Now all of a sudden he wants Randy Orton. Come on, man. You know, 6 weeks ago, or whatever it was, a month ago, he fucking fell asleep. Now you want him? And even next week, I bet my bottom dollar that either one or both of them is simulcast. I'd be shocked if Edge and Randy Orton are in Florida next week.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. Because remember, tonight, what we got on Raw tonight was recorded last week, the same day that they recorded the other matches. So, you know, and Vink and, I don't want to call them Vink and Stink because they're not that bad. You know, they just, unfortunately, they look like two guys that work at Starbucks. They look like two guys that are taking tickets at the door at a club. You know what I mean? Like,
it looks like a guy I work with, actually, the big guy.
You look at plain-looking wrestlers that look like everyday fucking college guys that may be waiting and I don't mean waiting to be served. I mean like a waiter in a fucking restaurant trying to get money for college tuition. You look at over the years, you know, how many fucking plain-looking waiters ended up getting tremendously over in WWE. I mean, even you don't even give me Cesaro because Cesaro originally had fucking the Russian chick, you know, Teddy Long's love. You know, like you don't rarely get many people that really had, you know, like there's always something attached to it. This is like revival plane.
Right.
You know? So I don't even know if Edge and Orton are going to be in the building next week, but I was wondering this earlier. Becky Lynch is advertised last week, and when they teased her, you know, that she's going to be on Raw after Money in the Bank, you think WWE might have given away the winner of the women's match?
I hope not. Jesus, I hope not.
Because if you think about it, you know, we have other women in this match. You have Dana Brooke, who has no fucking shot.
Nah.
Kind of funny to hear AJ Styles today says he'll throw someone off the building. Because I've been saying for the last 2 or 3 weeks that, you know, I'd like to see Dana Brooke thrown off the building. No, not literally, but there's other women on SmackDown that are in this match too. And the way it came across, it felt like Becky Lynch is going to be facing or confronting whoever. That's what it felt like to me. I can't help but to think, maybe my view changes by Friday with predictions, but I can't help but to feel that Nia Jax is winning this women's Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I think it's a foregone conclusion, DT, honestly. And I think Asuka and, what's her name, Shayna will get into a whole thing, and then they'll have a feud that'll detract them from that championship picture, and it'll be all about Nia and Becky.
I wonder what happens with Kairi Sane. I feared this a couple of weeks ago. I said, you know, I think she's the odd woman out of all of this. So,
wasn't Asuka during her gibberish, Japanese gibberish rant, mentioning Kairi Sane?
She might have. I mean, I don't speak Japan, so I don't know exactly what she said.
A Japanese friend of mine told me it was actually gibberish, but she was mentioning Kairi during the promo. I think when she was yelling at Nia Jax, she kept bringing up Kairi Sane.
See, I would have done what XPW did with Juventud Guerrera. When I was there working for XPW and Hoovy came in, he was doing the juicy juice stuff. Mm-hmm. Like when he would cut a promo, half the things you couldn't understand what he was saying. And they would put like, you know, like the caption underneath? And they were trying to like figure out what he was saying. And when they couldn't understand it, they would just like put question marks, all these symbols or whatever. they should have done that with Asuka. When Asuka cut some of these promos, they should have put English dialect underneath. And when Asuka was just doing gibberish, they should have just put like all these symbols, like we have no fucking idea what she's saying.
That would be funny. That would be funny.
I don't know why they didn't do that.
That would be funny.
You know, maybe, you know, I got to do this maybe next week if she's on. I got to put the closed caption on for the deaf.
Yes.
I got to put the closed caption on. I want to see what is typed on the screen when, you know, or maybe I'll watch the repeat this week on one of the other cable channels. I want to see what the fuck they put. Something tells me it's probably going to just have like nothing.
DT, did you know that Rip Van Winkle fell asleep in the Catskill Mountains and woke up 20 years later and missed the Revolutionary War?
Oh, I knew it was a long time. I never bothered to like look into like what he actually forgot. So,
yeah, 20 years he slept in the Catskill Mountains and he missed the whole American Revolution.
Yeah, well,
yeah, he missed it. You wake up and miss this whole.
I'm just wondering if Nia wins this. I got that feeling, man. I think two chubbies are gonna win it this week.
When Nia wins the title, put Rip back to sleep.
I think the red chubby gets it and blue chubby gets it, and I say that as a compliment because I'm chubby too. We're all chubby wubbies.
Who's red chubby?
Otis.
Oh, Otis. Oh, I was gonna say. I thought you were talking about two women.
My fiance, she doesn't know Otis all that much, and she's like, "Why is he wearing a half-cut shirt?"
Because he's exposing the abs. He's got the abs. Oh,
so, man. I right now my early thinking is Otis gets it on the men's side, Nia gets it on the women's side, and Tamina unfortunately has a nice challenging match, but brother, I don't think a women's title is in the cards for her, brother. Even though her Twitter stuff is great, I'm loving her videos.
That's not bad.
Yeah, she's put up a couple of new ones. But speaking of doing like media stuff online, for those that are interested, Tuesday night, Teddy Hart is going to be debuting his new podcast. For anybody that wants to go check that out. It is called Open Heart Surgery with Teddy Hart. New episodes will drop every Tuesday at 12 noon.
Open heart surgery?
Open Heart Surgery.
Well, that's not something he's going to try or attempt.
Yeah. Any, did you ever express a view on that whole situation with him and Maria Manic?
No, I stayed out of it, and thank God.
It was
I didn't say a fucking thing about it.
Definitely smart.
No one could quote me on anything. I was the only one out of the five who said nothing. I didn't say anything. Not a thing.
Yep. By the way, shout out to our sponsors and associate producers. I know I left the ticker on for an extended period of time. I was looking at my notes, everybody, and the chat room as well. So my apologies for the video.
And shout out to everybody in Discord, too.
Yeah, shout out to everybody in Discord also. Absolutely. And shout out to everybody who checked out the feed on Twitch. I'm going to try to figure out how to incorporate that chat as well. It's just not easy because I may have to get like a second monitor and maybe have a monitor that just has the chats going. And I know there's some people that do that, and one particular podcast that actually is not even a wrestling fan has actually been sending me some pointers. So, you know, that may be on the horizon. We'll see how it goes. But this little thing in the background, some people have seen. That little thing in the background now with super chats, when someone is kind enough to send in a super chat, I have it set up right now where at least acknowledges the person's name with a thank you. There's a lot of other things that I'm going to be doing with that soon. See, like even now, see the WWE stock? I could actually put like all different things on there. The WWE stock today went up 11 cents. But I'm going to be putting like a news ticker in the background, wrestling stuff, and it's going to just do like little tickers throughout, even on pay-per-views. In the background, it may show like the match results and stuff like that. So, you know, just, trying to think outside the box. But some bad news, we were talking about Kevin Owens before, resting up and possibly, a little bit more than an ankle sprain. Jey Uso, unfortunately, is going to have a little bit of a problem right now in WWE because his brother Jimmy Uso has a knee injury, and everybody is reporting that he may be out 6 to 9 months.
Jesus Christ.
I mean,
Ugh, fuck.
what do you do with Jimmy? What do you do with Jey Uso right now with Jimmy out? Do you possibly, have him interact with Naomi a little bit, just for that little connection?
Jimmy is the one married to Naomi. He's okay. It's his brother.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, since the Usos have that, because Naomi used to, be in the corner for both of them. So I'm not saying husband and wife or any.
Which Uso was out injured?
Jimmy Uso's out with the knee injury.
So Jimmy's out, Naomi's husband.
Yes.
So Jay is there.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's her brother-in-law.
Right, but I don't know what you do with Jay on his own, unless maybe they team him with Creepy Ali.
Jimmy they're twins, but Jimmy is clearly more the gregarious, outgoing guy. He's more of the talker of the two. I don't know if this could be a push for him as a single. I don't know, team up with Tucker. It seems like fucking Otis abandoned him.
Yeah, Tucker's got to turn.
So yeah, Tucker's got to turn. But they got to give him a new partner. I don't know what they're going to do with him. It looks like Otis is on the single route right now. If Otis wins that thing, DT, he's never going back to tag teams.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if Otis wins Money in the Bank, they have to do a storyline where Tucker
comes out and
turns on Otis. He's got it.
I agree. Yeah,
he's got it.
But what about Uso? You think listen, magic in a bottle. Shawn Michaels. I'm not saying that Jey Uso is Shawn Michaels. I'm just saying that who would know that some guys over the years, they took chances on Brett, people like that. There could be a solo star. Maybe Jay's got the chops. Maybe they give him a shot. But I don't know. He's so embedded in that Uso tag team, and with the twin thing, can they do it? Look, they broke Nikki away from Brie, and they made Nikki Bella more the star in the ring. Maybe they could, they could do whatever they want. Let's be honest, DT. They just got to give him the right push. But brother-in-law interacting with his sister-in-law, I don't know. Is that something to do? Is that some
no, just a manager.
Yeah,
or maybe they do, some gender tag matches, because I just don't think Jey Uso by himself, he's not like Jeff Hardy. That Jeff Hardy could go solo.
No, he's not. I don't want to insult Marty Jannetty, say he's the Marty Jannetty of the team. I think the Uso is very even keel. Yeah. But Jimmy is more the high profile guy. If anybody's paying attention over the years, Jimmy's the more the talker. And he's obviously Naomi's husband. He's the guy who's been on the Divas show. And so Jimmy's, sorry to say, more the star of the duo. But now Jay could break out and show what he can do on his own. So to give Jay an opportunity, this is his opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, as I look at my Raw results, yeah, I'm feeling like Nia's going to win this thing, because the commercial was Becky Lynch is going to confront the winner of Money in the Bank. Now,
yeah,
why would she confront the SmackDown wrestler?
Good point. Yep.
Look, I want to make this clear before anybody says anything. The winner of the briefcase can challenge anybody. But why? It's not the opposite. Becky, who has the Raw Women's Championship, has no right to confront a SmackDown woman who wins the briefcase. That's why I think their tease earlier, again, I think it gave away that somebody on Raw is winning that. And, to me, I think it comes down to Baszler or Nia. And I think Nia is the one, and I've said this for a couple of weeks now, because Nia is the one responsible for probably the birth of the man, who is now half the man, because she doesn't compete like she used to.
That's true.
Look, if she goes to Hollywood, good for her, man, because, I've said this many times. I never shitted on Brock Lesnar, as far as his contract, because every single person watching this right now, if you work wherever you worked, your employer said, they pay you top dollar and you only have to work a tenth of the schedule of others. You mean to tell me you would say, no, man, I have to come to work every day or nothing? So I don't have any problem with it. And if Becky could work in Hollywood and make millions and star and have that career, as a wrestling fan, I wouldn't like it, but, I would be happy for her, but let's be a little.
Do you think she has those chops though, DT? You think she has that? She doesn't have that charisma.
I don't know because
in this, profession that she's chosen to be in. You think she's box office
I
material?
don't know.
I think she's only been on top for a year and hasn't even proven herself in that. At least John Cena put the years and the time in. The Rock put the years and the time in. Something about her kind of, construing this whole thing, becoming this kind of fake badass character, which I don't buy into. I'm not a fan of it. I'm a fan of Becky Lynch before this nonsense. Because I just don't buy the truck and trying to be drinking beers with Steve Austin. I shake my head and go, I'm not buying this. I'm not buying this because it's not authentic. It's as
Son, oh my.
Ooh, sorry about that.
fake. What the fuck was that?
No, that was me. Sorry.
Was that your stomach again?
No. I hit the wrong button about something.
But I don't know. For her being on top for a year, she's got a lot more to do in this company, and to go Hollywood from here, I don't think she'd get that much respect from a lot of people.
No.
I think she would kind of get the no goodbye if she was leaving. She wouldn't get the good treatment.
Yeah,
she doesn't put in the time, DT. She doesn't put in the time.
Yeah, I'm not saying she would be a rock star in Hollywood immediately, but you adapt. I mean, there has been some people who have done movies, maybe WWE movies, that we never thought would be a decent actor. As ridiculous as it was, I thought Dolph Ziggler actually didn't do too bad of a job in that god-awful movie from a couple of years ago.
What about the Miz? You ever see the Miz?
Miz was good too. I actually thought the Miz was fine. I mean, some people you'd be a little surprised. I mean, but I'm not saying that she's going to be, top star right now. But I can't shun her for that. But I will say this though, and I was kind of like leading with this earlier with the Nikki Bella stuff. Her title reign is making me feel an awful lot like Nikki Bella's reign. Nikki Bella, they tried so hard for her to pass, what was it, AJ Lee's reign of the longest time running champion? And it felt like as soon as she got that record reign, that's when she dropped the title. And I think, Charlotte got the women's championship or whatever it was. It feels like they're doing the same thing with Becky now. It's like, all right, we're just milking this and milking this and milking this, so she becomes the longest reigning champion ever. And again, she's the top woman in WWE, no question. And I'm a fan of hers. But the last 6 months of her title reign, seriously, everybody, has it been one of the greatest title reigns of all time? It may be 380 days. But again, you go back to November, which is now almost 6 months, and look at how much she's competed. It just feels like now there's some people that defend their title. And yes, WWE's the one that decides when they defend it. But CM Punk's reign, I don't think anybody's ever said that 434 days, he didn't really do all that much. There's people that you feel earned it. New Day, they passed Demolition, but they did work their ass off in the ring.
Those guys did.
Yeah, they did. But honestly, it feels with Becky Lynch's current title reign is that WWE's just trying to chop off the days, make it the longest ever, and just looking. They set up next week. If it's Nia and Becky, you think that Becky's gonna wrestle in the next couple of weeks? It's gonna be skit, maybe a match, or maybe beginning of a match, interference, skit. That's what it feels like. Take the title off of her. Give it to Nia. I actually would rather have Nia with that belt right now than Becky Lynch, to be honest with you.
So would I. It's like what you just said, DT. They're working the days. They're running out the clock.
Yeah.
With this to just get it to be this big number. So then when she does drop it, they can bring it up all the time, and then someone's got to follow that. Yeah. But in fairness, what are they really following? And no one's going to get a long title reign like that. If Nia gets it, she'll get it for a couple of months. But I could picture Nia getting the belt. I would probably, even when we do predictions, I would probably go. I would go with Nia to win the belt. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, just to because we're going to wrap this up in about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Talk about Raw a little bit. We had that opening segment with the women, Asuka, Shayna, and Nia. To me, it fell flat, and
it did.
Especially when you realize that last week's Shangata segment was recorded the same day as this week's Shangata segment. So last week, whoever was there live were treated to two shit segments with the 3 women.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah. Then we had the gauntlet match, and this was kind of what I was talking about 3 weeks ago, that I thought some of the younger stars, some of the stars that are not utilized all that much, and a lot of them are minority. Not minority doesn't just mean black; it means other, ethnic groups as well. And as they were going through the gauntlet today, I'm like, oh, this is the minority in the bank match, because every single person in the match was a minority that was not being utilized as much as they should. It was cool to see Titus O'Neil, but he got squashed in less than a minute to Bobby Lashley. Then Lashley squashes Tozawa, which we talked about at the beginning of the show. Shelton Benjamin makes an appearance, and Shelton Benjamin had some really good offense, but I don't think there was any doubt Shelton Benjamin was going to get eliminated. Then they do something god-awful. Humberto Carrillo, he's not god-awful. I'm a fan of his, but he's taking on Lashley. Nice back and forth. And Lashley gets disqualified because he shoved the referee.
Yeah.
I mean, when you do it in an empty arena, and then you just look at the goofiness of Lashley going, what? It's just like, at least when crowds, you hear the crowd noise in the announcers and you don't hear the goofiness, like suspension of disbelief. Like, you just fucking busted your ass against 3 or 4 people. I don't care about the cheap shot attack after. It was just so awful. And you have this dead silence on top of it. So you have an awful segment. It's almost like when you're on a first date, since we'll talk about that. You're on a first date and you start having like a really awkward conversation, or a conversation that you just can't, the right words can't come out. And then you're just sitting there and there's this awkward silence, and like this date is totally fucked. That's what that was like with Lashley. It was just like this awkward silence of, I don't know. I thought it was horrendous. And WWE has this stubbornness that because AEW had their wrestlers around the ring making noise, which gives you a little suspension of disbelief that there are crowds there, WWE fucking refuses to put some wrestlers 5 on this side, 3 on this side, 5 on this side. Put a little fucking noise in the building. You have people in the back. They don't do it because they don't want to copy AEW, and because they're sequestering, they're only bringing in small, tiny groups. We'll bring in 6, 10 people. We'll bring them back to the hotel, bring another 10 people, bring them back. Put some fucking bodies in that building. Yeah. Give it a fucking energy. When Lashley got disqualified and you have that awkward silence, it was horrendous. I thought it was disgusting.
Yeah, you're right.
So next we had Carrillo taking on Angel Garza. Again, abrupt finish. Angel Garza eliminated Zelina Vega with the Home Alone shocked look on her face. Then Austin Theory comes out. He gets eliminated by Carrillo. Then AJ Styles. Kind of like the opposite of Saudi Arabia. AJ Styles, Saudi Arabia, we think he's going to win, and then Undertaker comes out and squashes that hope. This time around, AJ Styles gets it. He comes out, he beats Carrillo, and AJ Styles is the last entry in the Money in the Bank. That's why last week when you all were chatting live saying, Jinder took Apollo Cruz's spot, and I never acknowledged it, because I don't recall WWE ever announcing that Jinder Mahal was going to be taking his spot.
Right.
So what'd you think of AJ getting that?
No, I expect. Well, I knew AJ was coming back. There was all the talk of him coming back, back from the dead, from his dirt nap, his month-long dirt nap. And as soon as I saw him come out, I'm like, Humberto is dead in the water. He's dead. Humberto's going to go get buried. AJ was the obvious choice. He's a big star, and he's back, and they need to, utilize him the way they do.
Kev?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You know, it was nice to see him back. I'm glad he kept his promise. He said he was going to pay a little tribute to the OC because he wore their shirt today. So it was nice to see him pay that little last tribute to Gallows and Anderson. You know, a lot of people thought that Jinder Mahal was going to come out and win it. And I said this online earlier. Jinder Mahal does not need to be in this Money in the Bank match. All he's got to do is bump into Drew in the back on a night of Raw. Just bump into each other. Hey, congratulations, blah, 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 blah. And then it leads to a little dissension, and then it leads to a main event match on Raw. That's how Jinder gets his shot.
Yeah. Oh, that's definitely going to happen.
Yeah. So AJ Styles, it adds a nice energy and a dynamic to the match, you know, with Daniel Bryan and Mysterio and others. And it's Aleister Black. I think it'll be fun. You know, I'm waiting until SmackDown to really let this penetrate as far as the idea that they could stop in the cafeteria. They could stop in Vince's office. They could stop this. And by the way, I want to clear this up for people out there. The match is not taking place on the fucking roof live. Number one, it's pre-recorded. And number two, it's going to be dark. And I'm curious about. I'm curious to see if there's still daylight when they climb the corporate ladder, because the pay-per-view starts at 7, and unless they climb that corporate ladder before 8 o'clock, it's going to be pitch black outside. It's going to be another Wyatt versus Randy Orton where they're brawling in the house, and I guess it's dark or whatever, and then they go back to the arena, and it's still daylight. So it's pre-recorded. Segments of that is pre-recorded.
Okay.
That's not live. But not all the matches are taking place at the headquarters. I think just the Money in the Bank matches are going to be at the headquarters, and I'm assuming the rest of them will be in Florida. So, but AJ Styles adds a nice dynamic to it, but I don't think there's any chance of him winning it. Maybe my mind changes by Friday. During the night, they were doing countdowns of the top 10 Money in the Bank moments in history. So, which were nice to relive a little bit. Then, as we said earlier, we had Shane Thorne and Brandon Vink defeat Cedric Alexander and Ricochet. It was not a bad match, but, you know, I've already...
They shouldn't have beat... they should have let Cedric and Ricochet have a nice win streak.
Somebody in WWE thinks that this is a feud. Just because they faced each other 2 weeks in a row, which happened to both take place on the same night last week when they taped it, it's not a fucking feud. None of us think that Alexander and Ricochet are feuding with those two. Now they have to have the rubber match. And I'm not interested in, again, as I said earlier, I don't know how the fuck you treat Shane Thorne that way in 7 days. I mean, it's horrendous. But Alexander and Ricochet, they should not have lost as a team this soon. No reason, especially when they're walking up the rampway and they're looking at Vink. And I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. This is horrendously bad. Then we get the Street Profits lose to the Viking Raiders. And then I realize, I'm like, wait a minute. All his fucking challenge last week was for a non-title. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to make this big challenge, if it's fucking Raw, just come out and challenge them. Just like, seriously, Liv Morgan challenged Charlotte. All she has to do is, and I'm talking storyline, just go out there and cut a promo and challenge them and have a match. Oh, we got to cut a promo. Do you accept the challenge? Oh, next week, and it's a non-title match. This was all designed so they could have another match at the pay-per-view.
That's all. Yeah, that's it. It
was a decent match. But again, you know, the ending is like, okay, this was just set up for a reason to have another match. I don't know. It's such, like, childish booking. Like, you could figure it out. You could figure out every little aspect of it. Charlotte being Liv Morgan in 11 fucking minutes just makes no sense to me. We talked about that earlier.
One of the better matches tonight.
Yeah. And Drew McIntyre, you know, taking on Murphy. What'd you think of that match?
Not much. I was getting ready to go on the show and you know, I was watching it, but again, I knew it was a pretty foregone conclusion, and there's going to be a jumping in the end, and then a comeback, and that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. I personally don't think that there's any chance of Seth Rollins winning that belt right now.
No, absolutely not.
I mentioned this in the past. I am concerned that Drew McIntyre will never defend that belt in front of live fans, which is terrible. But it's not his fault. It is the overall writing of WWE. We talked individually about different people. Liv Morgan, as much as I, said earlier, and I've been praising her, no reason to be in an 11-minute match with the greatest woman on that roster. 3 to 4 minutes tops. To do this tag match just to set up another match, god awful. Cedric and Ricochet losing this early to two guys that look like waiters in a restaurant. Nothing against them, but there's no outstanding quality right now where they connect, whether there's a live crowd or not. One is impressive in physique, but he still looks like a jacked up guy that would be a bouncer in a club. There's nothing about them that stands out to me. It just looks so fucking random. It looks like, they happen to be in Orlando. They happen to work for NXT. We'll give them a little rub and give them a win on Raw.
Yeah.
So, but with that said, we have SmackDown later on this week. We have NXT, AEW Dynamite. Both shows advertising some pretty damn entertaining matches. I will once again say I think the ratings are going to be not record-breaking, but they're going to have a nice rebound combined this week. If AEW and NXT stay on the level of the last 3 or 4 weeks in the ratings with those cards advertised, then I'll come up here and say there's a problem. I think they're going to gain a couple of 100,000, maybe like 200,000 viewers this week combined.
I hope so. And I know Killer Cross and Scarlett is supposed to be on this Wednesday on NXT, so I'm looking forward to that.
I don't know why they waited so long. I said this last week. Ciampa should have come out the following week. Should have been the first person on camera. I'm not leaving this ring till that son of a bitch comes out there and explains, or insist on he wants to confront them. You could add someone, Regal or somebody, say he's not in the building or whatever it is, but to just turn around and, Ciampa goes to sleep for 3 weeks. It's like the Edge thing. He took whatever Edge took. He fell asleep for 3 fucking weeks or 2 weeks.
Mini Rip Van Winkle?
Yeah. It's like another Rip Van Winkle. I know they want to stretch these out a little bit more, but, WWE has too many wrestlers on the roster. They don't need to stretch it out to that level. So, and we'll see what happens with with Io Shirai and Charlotte on Wednesday. Cassette, I always wanted to see Charlotte versus Medusa. I just don't think Medusa can really go that long in a one-on-one match. If that was the case, we would have seen it more than once in recent memory.
Yeah, it would have happened by now.
You were one of Medusa's biggest fans too.
Oh yeah, big fan of Medusa. I think she had surgery on her knee, and I don't know if she can. I mean, it's better now, but I don't think she can go in the ring anymore.
Yeah,
I think her ring days are over.
Yeah, so no, and that's pretty much it. So we're about at the 2-hour mark. I always want to keep these under 2 hours, so the feed becomes available for everybody immediately. I will put up the audio downloads and everything in a few minutes, but any final words before we go?
Yeah, tomorrow night on our Patreon, Don Tony Kevin Castle Patreon, KNT Chronicles with me and Trez, starts at 10:15. Never too late to sign up. Little as $5. Go to Patreon at Don Tony and sign up today if you haven't. Thanks to everybody on YouTube and our Discord family. Much love to everybody. Much love to you, DT. And I'm out.
All right. Sounds good.
All
right. Later. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. I'm going to jet out of here as well since we're approaching the 2-hour mark. But don't forget, this Wednesday, right after NXT and AEW, I will be right back here for Wednesday Night Dynamite. Going to have a lot of stuff to get into. It's not just NXT and AEW. We'll talk about a few other things as well. And this Friday, I'll be right here for the Don Tony Show. Yes, there will be a pay-per-view recap live Sunday right after Money in the Bank. So Friday, I'll give predictions. We'll have some nice conversation, talk, and I invite everybody back here. And once again, much love, everybody. I really appreciate it. And, I'll be announcing a couple of additional features possibly this Wednesday, if not by Friday. So I am out of here, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed the show. And if you enjoyed the channel, subscribe. It will help yours truly tremendously. So everybody take care, be well. I'll catch you all again next time. Ciao.
Don Oh My.
It was fun to channel surf. It was kind of hard to do a little pocket pool after you hitting the last channel button 50 times for 2 hours plus.
Don Oh My.
And his whole idea of overanalyzing, oh, he's an alcoholic and he misplaced the belt. And how could you have someone champion like that? The fuck out of here.
Wednesday night.
Don Oh My, you're going to have fun. You really are.